Hello everyone, it's me, Connor from Seafoam Gaming, back with another Eternal Memories Countdowns, and I promise this is the final one before we get to proper episode for the new year. And that really is, well, this episode, which is about the top 10 best games of 2018, because last time I went on about the top 10 worst I played, only had one honorable mention, which wasn't even a bad game, just some I gave my thoughts on, because people would assume knowing me that I think it's bad, but I didn't really think it was anything special and I didn't even buy it. But now it's time for good games. Good games I like, good games I enjoy, good games I played. And I'm gonna give a full disclosure like I always do, that the majority of the games in this episode I got as review copies and reviewed on the Seafoam Gaming website beforehand, so that kind of what helped me form my judgment on most of these games, because I already wrote my reviews down for the most part. So if you go to seafoamgaming.com, you can look at reviews for most of the games. The ones that don't have a Seafoam Gaming review, well, you can probably tell based on how much I talk about them in the video. And also, I'll describe what games I bought myself in the credits of this video. So yeah, let's get into the top 10 best games of 2018 and see what the best had to offer, in my opinion at least.
Starting off our best of 2018 list, Yakuza 6 The Song of Life from Sega takes the 10th spot on the list. One of my friends got hooked on the series back in 2017, and he and I took interest in the series due to being able to explore a lifelike version of the Japanese city, and I thought that'd be a cool idea for a game. So I got Yakuza 6 on my birthday last year thanks to said friend, and shortly after I dabbled in that game, I was given the chance by Sega to review the final chapter in the main series for the website. So what did I think? Well, despite going from the beginning of the saga to the end, I was pleasantly surprised. The quality of life features introduced in this game made things so much smoother, and it became a game where I ended up goofing off in side quests more so than doing the main game activities. One of these side activities deals with the playable mini-games based on real Sega arcade titles, from emulations of Outrun, Fantasy Zone, and even a weird version of Puyo Puyo that is not the arcade version, but it's like this weird chopped up version of Puyo Puyo Tetris, but it's a lot of fun still. So as a huge fan of these retro games, this was a feature that made me fall in love with the series, because they are also in Yakuza 0, a few of them at least. So I'm very eager to jump back into completing the series in proper sequential order to see everything this franchise has to offer. While I would argue that 0 is a better starting point, and that's what I'm going to continue when I get back in the series, this game does feel like the more engaging one out of the two to me. Even though I'm going to hold off on beating this until I get up to speed on the main story, so I can experience the story to its end. Next up is a game I shoved onto this list at the last moment because I realized how good it became, and that game is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon at the number 9th spot on the list. Curse of the Moon is a side story to the upcoming Bloodstained Metroidvania game, appearing as a blatant ripoff of the retro Castlevania games at first glance. In all honesty, it did feel like one from beginning to end the very first time I played it, and it didn't do much for me, and it just felt generic and kind of there. That is, until I learned that if you take a certain path in the main game, you can equip the main character with all these crazy abilities, from a dash, a double jump, and fast attacks, that make this path feel more like a Ninja Gaiden's spiritual successor, more than anything else, and I absolutely love playing the game like that. There's even an unlockable thing called Ultimate Mode that starts you out with all these overpowered abilities from the beginning, meaning that you can pretty much play this game however you want, leading to more replay value than I expected when I bought this for 10. The music even stuck in my head as well, and it's absolutely worth checking out, since there's more than meets the eye, and there's some godlike tracks included. A game that more people put up higher on their list for 2018, But for me, Celeste is a really enjoyable game, taking the 8th spot on this list. Combining elements of tough platformers with the secret finding of a Metroidvania game, despite being a stage-by-stage experience, this game is really fun to play, since it's accessible and easy to get into, and I was hooked on this for quite a while, especially since I came across the Pico 8 minigame based on a shorter computer version, which was something I actually played on my computer in high school many years back. So it was nice seeing the game I stumbled across one day in a game that I reviewed, and we made some super great. However, sometimes I feel that this game can be a bit too big for its own good. Despite the levels being stage by stage, the exploration bits means that each stage can take a really long time to complete if you try to go through everything. Both due to the gradual difficulty curve making some of these really tough, along with the spacious nature of the levels. So while I had a lot of fun, I found myself not as hooked with this game as I was at the start, which is unfortunate. I ended up not even beating the game in the end due to it getting shoved to the depths of my backlog, but this was still a pleasant surprise I was more than happy to review in the early part of the year, and therefore I'm more than happy with this being the 8th spot on the list. This 7th game on our list showed up out of complete nowhere for me. I'm dead serious, and I've been trying to sing its praises ever since I found it. One day I looked at the Switch eShop and saw a little game known as The Adventures of Elena Temple on the Coming Soon section, and decided to reach out to the developer to review the game for my website. It seemed like a very interesting Metroidvania done in the style of an old school computer game, ditching the generic done-to-death pixel art style that I'm way sick of at this point in time, for something more akin to an LCD game on steroids that wasn't done as much. Once I started to play the game, I was blown away by how well made and fun this game was. It's a Metroidvania where the main goal is to explore a labyrinth and find enough gems and treasure to get back to the surface. And there's not even much in terms of upgrades to find. Rather, it's a screen-by-screen maze to explore in almost any order you wish, collecting all the hidden coins and treasures that you can find while killing enemies with a limited amount of ammo. The controls are very tight, and I found myself 100%ing the game in one scene due to how mesmerized I was. Unfortunately, there's not much of a reason to replay this fun adventure outside of improving the time for speedrun purposes. But for a $5 game that ended up being the developer's first title, I was blown away by how good it was. I can't recommend this enough as a budget Metroidvania adventure, either for fans of the genre or for speedrunners looking for a new game to try out. The Adventures of Elena Temple may not be a game you've heard of before, but let me be the one to introduce you to this enjoyable gem, as I strongly encourage you to check it out if you like Metroidvanias in any way, shape, or form. While I had expected such a thing to happen sooner or later, some had given up hope that there would ever be another Mega Man game. But sure enough, Mega Man 11 came out near the end of 2018, and while it plays it safe, it does so exceptionally well. To the point that I end up getting just as hooked to it as I did with some of the Mega Man X games. With a new set of weapons to play with, an addictive challenge mode, and a bunch of in-game achievements to nab, this game is an absolute steal at $30, making it earn the 6th spot on the list. But seriously, the platforming in this game is just that good, and the well-designed levels along the sheer amount of care that went into them made this a game that I enjoyed so much that I went after every single achievement. And ended up getting a huge chunk of them because of how much I enjoyed it. I really do hope this game does well enough to make Legends 3 and X9 a reality, since this and the Legacy collections make Mega Man's future safer and brighter than ever before. And here it is, my most anticipated game of the entire year, right in the middle of the list. So was this title bad or not quite as good as it could have been, and was I disappointed? Well, not really. There were just games that did even better that totally surprised me. But SNK 40th Anniversary Collection is 5th on this list for not only being a collection of some really fun arcade gems and amazing Crystallis, but also one that has what may be the best history and behind the scenes stuff of any compilation I've ever owned. Most of these compilations, particularly ones in the early 2000s, would just stick some cool looking arcade flyers, maybe a video interview or secret bonus game, and call it a day. But SNK 40th went as far as to dig into details on some games that flat out do not exist anymore and are lost forever, along with some titles that you will not find info about on a Google search. They combed through every bit of SNK's pre-Neo Geo history, and as someone like me who vastly prefers the older lineup compared to the newer Neo Geo games, this collection was godlike for me. With tons of great games, and a few abysmal ones like the Mycronics ports, a bunch of amazing bonus content, a great price at $40, and this compilation was easily well worth the wait. The only problem I have with SNK 40th is that the games that use save files or saved high scores don't do that for some reason. You have to use a save state in order to do the price of that. But besides that nitpick, this is a great collection of SNK arcade gems. If you're a retro gamer looking for one gaming compilation to pick up for the Switch, SNK 40th should be the one, because it really is one of its kind. I hope more like it come out soon. Here's one of the surprises I just mentioned, a game that wasn't even on my radar until a week before it launched in the Switch eShop. Lode Runner Legacy was a surprisingly fun throwback to the puzzle game from the 80s, and is fourth on this list. What seemed like yet another voxel-style remake of an old game ended up being a puzzle game with a crazy amount of content, from new levels to old levels to custom levels and even custom characters like this Breakson I made. So I'm in the game. Lode Runner Legacy easily became a puzzler I spent a bunch of time with in the spring of 2018, and while it may not have any competitive multiplayer like Battle Lode Runner, it does have a few co-op stages as well that make this worth buying if you're into those, or really if you just love Lode Runner in general. Easily a hidden gem I haven't heard much talk about, which is a big shame since it is all fun and anyone who even played Lode Runner back in the day should really get onto buying this. Now this one I had a feeling would be a pretty good game, since I absolutely adored the first Guacamelee, with a subtitle I'm not even gonna bother and try to say incomplete. So when the sequel was announced for the PS4, I was pretty intrigued, and was more than happy to review the game for my website. While I still think the first game did a few things better, Guacamelee 2 manages to keep the excellent combat and exploration of the first game, while adding a more absurd plot to the mix, making it take up the third spot on this list. The reason that Guacamelee 1 was a game I fell in love with was because I just grew so attached to the world and the art style, since it looked absolutely gorgeous and paid tribute to a few classics along the way. Guacamelee 2 continues these tributes with even more funny moments thanks to its story, and the art style has been given a slight improvement that leads to better looking areas. Combine that with combat being smoother and even allowing for a formerly useless power-up to becoming the main focus of the new abilities you can get, and you have one great Metroidvania worth checking out. There's a retail bundle of the two Guacamelee titles planned for release at the end of May, and if you haven't purchased either one of these two just yet, then I strongly encourage you to go for the retail bundle. Not only does it include both titles on one disc, or on one cart if you're on Switch, but it also includes all the DLC for the two games. And while I haven't played Guacamelee 2's DLC challenge mode or even the free DLC pack, that's the characters, if it's anything like the main game, then you're in for a challenging treat. The runner-up to my all-time favorite game of 2018 is none other than Smash Ultimate, which is already on screen. Yeah, this isn't a surprise. You're gonna see this game somewhere since it's on every freaking list of 2018 imaginable. So I'll keep it brief, though maybe not really cause the script's kinda long. And while I'm not the biggest Smash fan in the world, I have had fond memories of the first two games in particular, so I was eager to see some old stages return. At first I was a bit hesitant, which you may remember from my unscripted memories on E3 2018, since it just seemed like it was using a similar engine to Smash 4 on Wii U, which I played the crap out of with a friend every weekend for a year straight. I'm not exaggerating on that one either. So I just assumed it would be the Super Street Fighter 2, the Smash 4 Street Fighter 2, and would be fancied up and look better but still be the same game. Not a port, just something that improved upon the older game and made it obsolete while doing barely anything else to look different. Well, it did make Smash 4 obsolete, but surprised me in several ways. For starters, my boy Spupa is back! That's worth a lot of brownie points in my eyes. They even added his holy son Piluku Muku to the mix as well, leading the two gods in one game. In all seriousness though, Richter Belmont was the character that made me lose my mind on him being added. I couldn't give less of a damn about a single other character that was newcomer or future DLC at this point in time, save for his counterpart Simon Belmont. But Richter came totally out of nowhere and made me scream out of my seat and wet my pants when I saw him get revealed. The protagonist of Castlevania game with the best soundtrack in history next to Castlevania Rebirth, sign me up right now. Needless to say, the game came out and it met a good majority of my expectations. The Spirit Board mode is addicting and surprisingly good as a replacement for trophies, even though I missed the descriptions that the trophies would provide. Online with friends is the best it's ever been in the series, since it's super easy to jump into a match and customize it with liking and invite some friends over. Co-op battles against online people are also another fun time whenever I have my friend over, so we can do 2v2 battles over the internet, just for fun. Of course, the gameplay is the main attraction, and Ultimate works well in that regard. But there are a few things that make this from being as fun as a solo game as Smash 64 and Melee were to me. For starters, Home Run Contest and target modes are gone. I couldn't care less about the sandbag since the target game was the one I preferred as a kid, but the target game was just a really fun game to do. Especially in Melee, since each character had their own mini challenges to complete. And there's not even a score chasing minigame included like Smash 4's target game, which just feels really strange since they didn't even bother copying over what they made before. They do have a fun race to finish tribute in classic mode, but it's the same map over and over and over, and I wish there were a few more maps that would just rotate between each classic mode attempt. Speaking of classic mode, both that and All-Star mode have become incredibly boring, and somehow the worst part of single player now. Each classic mode now has a unique route to complete, which sounds super cool at first, but outside of a few exceptions with a unique boss at the end, some which are really cool I might add, most of them just end in master or crazy hand fights even if it has nothing to do with the theme of the character. I want to see more cool fights like the Mega Man final battle, which didn't even have a boss character at all, and had a power-up version of another fighter to make it more akin to a battle from Mega Man 2, which I thought was super epic. I think doing fights like these and the Spirit Board battles of sorts would have been a much better option than just plopping Master or Crazy Hand as filler when they don't belong and they're boring as sin to fight. As for All-Star mode, well, it's multi-man melee and it doesn't even properly end. If it was just a mode you could beat the oldest time and beat all the characters in the roster, that would make sense. But here just loops endlessly and it really sucks. This is a filler mode, and I really hope they make it like the other versions in a future update, or at least allow for some way to make it not endless. Next up is the World of Light, and I honestly didn't care for it that much, since outside the final bosses, all the bosses were the same ones they used in classic mode, and it was just a Spirit Board mode without the addicting nature of seeing what random spirit would come up next, since it's the same every single playthrough. It was fun exploring the maps at my own pace for a while, but the lack of any sort of character interactions or actual dialogue drove me nuts, and being unable to see something funny like Richter Belmont reacting to Greninja for being a dark type, or K. Rool meeting with Bowser for the first time was just a bummer. Still beats the subspace by a long shot since it doesn't have the final maze and it doesn't look like poop, but it could have been a much more fleshed out experience. Last but not least is the online solo battles. While co-op mode was fun and stable for me, solo is not. It allows you to filter based on which modes you prefer in the game, from free-falls with items, team battles and 1v1 modes. But due to it picking people who are closer to you in the real world, it won't always acknowledge your preferences. Most of the time I just want to fight players with Pokeballs and assist trophies, but I end up in the crappy team battle instead. That ends up being a nightmare because of how, if even one player has a bad laggy connection, everyone suffers. This is inexcusable for online play you're paying for now, and the fact that the online ranking mode is tied to this just feels bad. You can't even use co-op to play ranked matches because they're all for fun. Still, all this can improve in updates, and the game still had 115 hours of playtime out of me, so that made this my most played game of 2018 in the last month alone, so that has to at least mean something.
Now it's time for honorable mentions, and like before, I'm on camera. Problem is, the two games I have in question aren't physical, so I can't show them. Except maybe one of them in the corner using my editing skills. So first up for a game I was gonna put on this list but didn't, Bleed 2. It's a sequel to a one and gun action game that I thought was okay at best. It was kind of mediocre and whatnot. Then I played the sequel because I got a review copy from D-Gardi, the publishers, and it blew me away! Somehow it became a sequel like people think Mega Man 2 of. You know, I like Mega Man 1 a lot more than 2, but that's just me. But it just blew me away. My problems with the first game? Gone. Co-op? Much better. Everything was so much better and it was such a good game. And it was really a good gem I couldn't wait to talk about with you guys on the top 10 list. And it actually was the 9th spot on the list before Bloodstained came and took its throne. So why did I remove it? Well, because unlike Bloodstained, I never went back to the game after I beat it. I had so much fun when I did play it, but I didn't go back to the game. Even Elena Temple I actually went back to a few times to try and best my best times, but Bleed 2 was a great one and done deal, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, Bleed 2, you almost made it, but you didn't. But you're a great game, so if you aren't wanting to buy 10 games, why not buy 11th and get Bleed 2? Next up is something I was considering for the spot. I wasn't gonna ever remove SNK40 from the list. That was a lock from after I reviewed it because it was such a good compilation. But I was thinking about including one of the other compilations from the Leah, like the Mega Man X collection and the Switch ports of Mega Man Classics, and Sega Genesis before I found out that collection was really bad. But there's a lot of good collections in 2018. And you know, this is one wasn't really a collection, it's a series of games. I was thinking heavily of putting the Sega Ages line on this, because, well, the 3DS 3D Classics from M2 were amazing and they had so much new stuff that they made the definitive versions of so many games, but also made some mediocre or okay versions of some that weren't good to begin with, like Ultra Beast, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, etc. Well, Sega Ages is hoping to do that on Switch in HD and with more intense games. But it's just all talk and no show because Xenos announced a Leah Gold this month, at least when I'm filming this. The Sega Ages line has only had 3 games in the United States. Well, 4, but 3 games in 2018. And there were about 12 games announced? Yeah, that's a big problem. They got delayed, yeah, because they wanted to polish it, but this is a bit of a problem because it started off promising, a worldwide release in September with Sonic 1 and Thunder Force. I got both games. Thunder Force I liked the improvements. I thought it was super cool that they included the main character from the previous game in the 4th game and basically modded the 4th game to play like the third one. That's a really cool feature and I'd honestly love to see some more games get modded like that officially. It'd be cool if like you could play like Oracle of Ages, like Link's Awakening in that engine, or Link's Awakening, the Oracle of Ages engine and whatnot. You know, those Link's Awakening remake. I just think it'd be cool for more games to do those sort of things. But Thunder Force wasn't for me. Sonic 1, they actually made fun by including the arcade version, which actually removes the awful marble zone and makes it a good game for once. So, Sonic 1, best version ever. That's even more than the mobile version. That's a good start. But then they announced Phantasy Star, which was a Sega Master System game, and they took a long time to release it. It was going to come out in September, got delayed till the end of October in Japan, and then it got delayed till December in the United States, because they had to rework the game and send it for approval, because the Sega Ages games, believe it or not, they actually get approved mere days before they are released because of how much they work on them, which is kind of impressive and also kind of sad. But fear not, seemed pretty reasonable. And then we got Out One, which Japan got in late November, we got in early January. A fair, reasonable length of time for approving the game, since approval takes time. And again, they literally went up on sale the second they were finished in Japan, so it'll take a while for them to come over here, even with the same SKU and all that. But then after Out One, we were supposed to get Game Ground and Alex Kidd. No, not Alex Kidd. Puyo Puyo. And Game Ground came out in Japan on Christmas Day, and it's still not out here. So, yeah, Sega Ages I put on this list, and the 3 I played in 2018 were amazing ports. They're just going out way too slow, and the release schedule is just really bad. I'm kind of scared they're going to just not go to Saturn or SG-1000 games because of how slow they're releasing them. No one's going to buy them in the United States because of the eShop layout. In Japan, I think they're doing okay, but in the US, the Game Gear games had a similar delay, and then they finally came out, but then when they came out, no one bought them except for the Sonic ones because everyone else knew Sonic and no one else knew Crystal Warriors or Shining Force. And then we never got Shinobi 2 and any of those good games. And that made me really sad. So I'm hoping Sega Ages I can put on the list in 2019, and it won't get delayed, and it won't get cancelled because of poor sales. So please, Sega, pick up the pace.
Here it is. Launching in the same month as Smash Ultimate, this particular game was one I had decent expectations for, but I didn't really put much thought into and just thought it'd be another game I'd play, enjoy, and put on the shelf. Then when I played it, I got hooked. But then when I got hooked, the game got better. And then it got better when it got better. Before somehow becoming one of the most godlike games of the year. It may have not hit a 10 out of 10 on my website, but my game of the year for 2018 is none other than Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom. I just need to play this music. This song is why the game is so good. Well, that and a bunch of other reasons. Not only does Monster Boy somehow have a soundtrack that finally gives me, a PC Engine CD fan, the modern day Redbook experience I've been seeking from an indie game for years, but it also plays as a really enjoyable Metroidvania. I enjoyed a few of the Wonder Boy games before this, but none of them really stuck out with me. Wonder Boy 1 was too annoying and arcade-like, and not even the fun arcade experience. Monster Land was absurdly difficult and cryptic, and not a fun arcade game. Monster World was a slow drag that took too long to get going. Dragon's Trap was really good, but also way too short and picked up way too fast. And Monster World 4 lacked exploration. I'm not kidding when I say that this throwback to a game series that has been dormant for ages somehow fixes all those issues and makes them better, while also making this the longest and best game in the entire franchise. The only reason I didn't feel it was worth my site's perfect score back when I reviewed it is because the first hour of the game is a really long drag that felt like Monster World, and I did not like that first hour. But the game picks up significantly after you gain the frog ability and can actually do some cool stuff. I still haven't beaten it, but I've gone damn close and am just goofing off, spending tons of time going off, and spending tons of time collecting everything, and honestly doing what I can so the game just doesn't end. For once, I've never been this fearful of a game not ending in so long, and I think the only games that can compare to such a feeling in my eyes were the Mystery Dungeon games, which I didn't want to end because they were once-in-a-lifetime experiences for me that only came every few years. But no, Monster Boy became one of those games that I didn't want to end. So for that magical feeling alone, Monster Boy easily takes the first spot as the best game of 2018 in my eyes, and I strongly encourage every one of you to go buy it right now. No hesitation. If you own a platform and like Metroidvania games, then go buy it. For context, in my point of view, I played Hollow Knight last year as well, but I found it boring and cryptic and the map system sucked, so I didn't like it. But everyone else thought that was the ultimate Metroidvania on Switch and one of the best ones of 2018, but no, this game is, in my honest opinion. Monster Boy is well worth a purchase or even an import of physical copy if you live outside the United States and are looking for a great game to play on the Switch. It's now easily up there, right behind Shantae the Pirate's Curse as one of my all-time favorite Metroidvania games. And I just can't stop saying good enough things about it. It's really worth checking out, even if you're not a Wonder Boy fan, because it manages to hold its own identity while being the ultimate throwback for Wonder Boy fans. It's somehow insane that a game sequel that came out so long after the original series managed to basically make them all obsolete and do everything better while being a game that had no right being as good as it needed to be. But it is, so please, I encourage you to check out Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom.
And there you have it, my top 10 games of 2018, and I'm, again, buy Monster Boy. I don't care if you don't think it's a good game. Well, I mean, Metroidvanias aren't for everyone. But you need to buy if you like Metroidvanias or adventure games. You just need to. Like, there's a physical copy on PS4, Switch, Xbox, not PC, because that isn't even out yet. It's a good game on all those platforms already, all across the world. Yes, even Japan, I think. Yeah, it did come out in Japan on Switch, at least, on the eShop. But yeah, you just need to buy it. It's a really good Metroidvania. And honestly, like our review copy of it, I'm gonna buy it on the PS4 physically as soon as I get the chance because I just love the game so much. I want to support these guys. And I hope they make great games to come because, honestly, these guys have the potential to make something super amazing. If they did a old franchise, made the best game in an entire franchise after coming out of nowhere from a pitch that looked really, if I may be frank, cheaply made like 4 years ago, and then they made one of the best games of 2018. Oh my god, guys, that's a good sign for those developers, and I salute Game Atelier, or however you pronounce that. It's been a while since I knew my French. And FDG for publishing a great game like that, because I'm really impressed. I'm gonna gush about it for a while, but yeah, buy Monster Boy. At least check it out. And there's even a demo available now. You have no excuse, please. What else can I say? But yeah, there's my top 10 list, because the other 9 games aren't a bad choice either. They're all great, I really like them all. But Monster Boy was exceptional. Even though it wasn't a 10 out of 10 because that slow start, I honestly think it's good enough that I need to recommend it to everyone no matter what. So yeah, that does it for this episode of Eternal Memories Countdowns. So where do we go in the future? Well, up next, I think I'm going to cover a game that helped me push through a defining moment in my life about 6 years ago. And I'm going to talk about how Ninja Gaiden helped me establish a path for myself and, well, became one of my favorite NES games. So stay tuned for that episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye!